Welcome to the GameChanger 00100 show. I'm your host, GameChanger. Okay, I see we got Benjamin D'Souza in the house. Salute to you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right. So, as I mentioned, for the next month or so, I will not be doing any music, but let me just start off with some news today before I get into the meat and potatoes of what's going on here. So, here's some bad news. Apparently, Snoop Dogg apologizes to Gayle King for his comment after speaking to his mommy. Now, I want everybody to know that this is, Snoop Doggy Dogg, from the LBC, um, rolling down the street, smoking Indo, sipping on gin and juice, laid back with his mind on his money and his money on his mind. So, through all this shit, through all this gangsta promotion of young black men and boys, through all this gang culture promotion, all this Long Beach Crip promotion that has been going on for quite some time. A very, very long time. Apparently, through all this, his mother had the right to put a stop to it. She had the influence over him to put a stop to all this. But nope, that's okay. It's okay to rap and rhyme about killing, stealing, and drug dealing. You see, that shit's okay. But what's not okay is if you talk about a black woman. If you talk about a black woman, then we have problems. Y'all don't see the hand of the sisterhood at play? Basically, when this was done, a call went out to the sisterhood. How do we stop this? And basically what they were looking for was whose jurisdiction is Snoop Dogg under? Oh yes, most every non-liberated black man is under a black woman's jurisdiction until he emancipated himself from it. Now, Snoop Dogg, fortunately, wasn't under his wife's jurisdiction. He wasn't under his daughter's jurisdiction. But he, like so many black men, especially if they are boomers, is under the jurisdiction of his boomer mother. You see, black boomer bitches is ground zero for feminism. It is the golden era of feminism. It is the renaissance of it. Not only does it have a high concentration of feminist women, the depths in which these women will dwell into feminism is deeper than any other generation ever. You see, a Gen X feminist, she'll be feminist right up until the point where it affects her bag. Wave a bag in front of a Gen X feminist, and she's quick to call you daddy and make you pancakes, homemade syrup, right into the time she divorces you. But if it came down to being a millionaire or being the wife of a millionaire, and being, a poor independent woman, the boomer would take the latter. So his mother was under an extraordinarily vicious strain of feminism. She remained silent for decades as Snoop was saying whatever the fuck he wanted. For decades. I know everybody else outside the black community was like, oh damn, this young man is carrying on like he has no mama. And now at 48 years old, his mama comes out of nowhere and rears her head and says, you can do anything, but you can't do that. I'm 68 years old, and how dare you talk to a 70-year-old like that? I don't care what you do to the rest of the world, just don't mess with the sisterhood. And you see, Snoop doesn't know any better. He hasn't been around these places. He hasn't experienced the worst of the sisterhood. He has experienced the best of it. He married very young, had several kids. From his point of view, there is no problem. He's not going through like who is it? I think it's like Morris Chestnut or something, like his third divorce or something like that. See, had he had this problem, he would be aware of the sisterhood. But right now, he just sees it as women are women, and every now and again, one of them, like Gayle King, get out of line. And he has to live to his mother's definition of manhood to react to it properly. Now, before I get into the meat and potatoes of this slave to ... video, I want to burn an image. I want this to be viscerally clear. So, I'm going to also make a separate video just on this for the people who come in late. Because I know a lot of people come in late and just watch the end and they don't see it. But this point has to be burned into the soul of every red pill black man, woman, and child. So y'all can understand the nature of the black boomer bitch and how deep it goes into her very being. Now, to do this, we have to address one of the first black boomer bitches in existence. Why is she the first? Because a boomer is someone born between 1944 and 1964. The woman I'm talking about was born in February 1944, which means that she is as boomer as a boomer can get. She was damn near born on the day that boomers came to be. Now, who am I talking about? Who is the queen of all boomers? Oh, no, it's not Oprah. It is not Oprah. There is something far worse than Oprah. There are boomers that play that are far worse than Oprah. This boomer literally writes the script for Oprah. That's right, you guessed it. You guessed it. Ms. Alice Walker. But let's listen to what Alice Walker's daughter has to say about her mama. Let's have a listen. Rebecca Walker is the daughter of Alice Walker, the feminist author of The Color Purple, Apparently, growing up as the daughter of a radical is not as fun as it sounds. Really? Oh, stop right there. Really? I thought being the child of a fucking lunatic, belligerent feminist bitch was great. I thought that there would be nothing better than that. Her mom always taught her motherhood was a form of servitude and slavery. Oh, God. Probably making Mother's Day awkward. Now, stop right there for a second. A mother told her child that motherhood is a form of servitude and slavery. She told this to her child. She basically said, I dread being your mother. I feel like being your mother makes me a slave. You, daughter of mine, has turned me into a slave. This is what the boomer, black bitch told her daughter. Let's continue. The esteemed feminist considered her daughter a sister, frequently took long trips without her. Now, stop right there for a second. She didn't actually consider her a sister, she just called her that. If she did consider her a sister, she would have took her with her because, you know, they take their sister trips, right? Let's continue. And allowed her to start having sex when she was only 13 years old. Her mother believed sex empowered women, girls, because they were finally in control of their bodies. Now, let's stop right there. Let's stop right there for a second. See, when I say that millennials have it bad as far as the sexual marketplace, this is why. This young girl wasn't the only one raised like that. You ask a young black man, when did he start having sex? You say around 13, 14. As a white guy, he'll say maybe like 18, 19, you know, like the American Pie senior year of high school. They're on a quest to get some ass, you know, type deal. As an Asian, he'll say early 20s. This is why. This is why they were teaching Gen Xers to just spread it out there. And they thought that they were just, you know, doing it right. Gen X men just enjoyed the ride, literally. I'm not going to pretend like I was above it. And this is why. Oh, I am liberated. Let me suck this dick now that I'm a liberated 13-year-old girl. Alice never allowed her daughter to play with dolls to make sure no maternal instinct accidentally seeped into her carefully created feminist world view. Yep, that was actually said. That was actually said. Rebecca is now 38 years old, has rejected the feminist teachings of her mother, and is a mom herself. Read about her fascinating progression from the teachings of her childhood to the appreciation of motherhood here. So I'm going to click that link. I'm not going to read the whole thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get me something to eat. And while I do that, I am going to, well, before I do that, actually, I'm going to look up a text reader and have that read it to you so I can eat while that happened. But of course, I'm going to chime in because, you know, I just can't help but to chime in. I really like to chime in. So let me find it so I could step away. But before I do that, actually, let me read some of the chat. Let me read some of the chat. I literally have not wore a tuxedo since prom. Is the last time I could think of. But yeah, no, I seen Obsidian on the thing yesterday. I mean, he was actually roasting until that was kind of like a weird part of it. Kind of like, I'm rich. How many tuxedos do you have? I mean, is that what like truly wealthy people do? They just have a bunch of tuxedos. I don't know. Maybe I'm not as rich as Obsidian, but I don't know. That's what defines wealth, like the number of tuxedos you have. I mean, I can't afford tuxedos. I just don't walk around with a bunch of tuxedos in my wardrobe. You know, that's yeah. Uh, Black boomer bitches. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Yes, they are. Anything that was born between 64 and, or excuse me, 1944 and 64 is a boomer. So yeah, these are boomers. I don't have to listen to boomer bitches. Well, you don't have to listen to them. Period. Like they're still alive. They're still alive. That is the main problem. Alice Walker is damn near 80. And she's still just walking around, fucking up lives every chance she gets. She fucked up her daughter something fierce. Just wait till I hear the whole thing. She fucked up her daughter something fierce. Fierce. All right. Yeah, I appreciate you, Kenny. All right. So let me look it up. Let's see. Around. Oh, Google has one. Cool. All right, let me see. Do they want me to pay for it? I hope not. All right, give me one moment, people. Shout out to MOT. Appreciate you. I probably should have just read it after, since I going through all. Nah, it's too long. And besides, I want to be able to read the comments while it reads too. So, damn it, they want monies. All right, let me see if I can find a free one. 1 second. All right, bear with me. I think I seen one after I googled it. I think it's here we go. Natural readers. Yeah, it says free, but typically they give you like a free 30 seconds or some shit like that. Uh, okay. All right, I think this one might work. 1 second. All right, since I only get 20 minutes, I'm gonna just cut it short. Let's see. Uh, I'm gonna see if I could get like a guy with a British accent voice, kind of like Alfred. Okay, this one. So what do I do? Just press enter or nope? All right, here we go. All right, so U.S. English. Let's see. I'm gonna go UK. Let's see what Peter sounds like. Let's do that. All right, let's go.
You see, my mum taught me that children enslave women. I grew up believing that children are millstones around your neck and the...
Nah, let's do a woman's voice. Let's do an American woman's voice. All right. Heather, Gabriella. Oh, Karen. Now Tracy. All right, so let me do this one.
I grew up believing that children are millstones around your neck, and the idea that motherhood can make you blissfully happy is a complete fairy tale. Rebecca. Family love? A young Rebecca with her parents. In fact, having a child has been the most rewarding experience of my life. Far from enslaving me, 3.5-year-old Tenzin has opened my world. My only regret is that I discovered the joys of motherhood so late. I have been trying for a second child for 2 years, but so far with no luck. I was raised to believe that women need men like a fish needs a bicycle. But I strongly feel children need two parents, and the thought of raising Tenzin without my partner, Glenn, 52, would be terrifying. As the child of divorced parents, I know only too well the painful consequences of being brought up in those circumstances. Feminism has much to answer for denigrating men and encouraging women to seek independence, whatever the cost to their families. My mother's feminist principles colored every aspect of my life. As a little girl, I wasn't even allowed to play with dolls or stuffed toys in case they brought out a maternal instinct. It was drummed into me that being a mother, raising children, and running a home were a form of slavery. Having a career, traveling the world, and being independent were what really mattered, according to her.
I don't know. Do y'all think I should just read it? That it's like it was too fast and all kind of. I'm gonna play around. I'm gonna see if I can find a good one of these. Cause I like reading articles, but I like reading the comments while I read the articles. So I don't know. That was kind of lame, but here I'll do some more, and then I'm gonna run to the kitchen right quick. Let me. I gotta do it bit by bit because I'm copying and pasting it, and there's pictures in it, and I don't want it to mess up like that. So, uh,
I love my mother very much, but I haven't seen her or spoken to her since I became pregnant. She has never seen my son, her only grandchild. My crime? Daring to question her ideology. Well, so be it. My mother may be revered by women around the world, goodness knows, many even have shrines to her. But I honestly believe it's time to puncture the myth and to reveal what life was really like to grow up as a child of the feminist revolution. My parents met and fell in love in Mississippi during the Civil Rights Movement. Dad, Mel Leventhal, was the brilliant lawyer son of a Jewish family who had fled the Holocaust. Mom was the impoverished eighth child of sharecroppers from Georgia. When they married in 1967, interracial weddings were still illegal in some states. My early childhood was very happy, although my parents were terribly busy, encouraging me to grow up fast. I was only 1 when I was sent off to nursery school. I'm told they even made me walk down the street to the school.
all right, so Zone is saying change the speed to 0. I will do that. And let's do the next one. But y'all get what's going on. So basically, she's telling the story about how much of a bitch of a mother Alice Walker was. Now, something interesting about Rebecca Walker that I'm going to continue, but notice how Alice Walker is, or I should say was, a swirler. So all this vitriol that she has against black men, she actually married a white Jewish guy at a very young age. And she had a child by this guy, by the same guy, also at a very young age. Well, actually, no, not at a very young age. But let's continue and let's see what speed 0 sounds like.
When I was 8, my parents divorced.
Oh, that's much better.
From then on, I was shuttled between two worlds. My father's very conservative, traditional, wealthy, white suburban community in New York, and my mother's avant-garde multiracial community in California. I spent 2 years with each parent, a bizarre way of doing things. Ironically, my mother regards herself as a hugely maternal woman. Believing that women are suppressed, she has campaigned for their rights around the world and set up organizations to aid women abandoned in Africa, offering herself up as a mother figure. But, while she has taken care of daughters all over the world and is hugely revered for her public work and service, my childhood tells a very different story. I came very low down in her priorities after work: political integrity, self-fulfillment, friendships, spiritual life, fame, and travel.
All right, stop right here. Remember when I said that the boomer strand of feminism is the strongest there is? Think of it like a vampire movie, right? Like Blade or something. You have the, the pureborn, I think that's what they're called, but the ones who were born vampires, like one vampire fucked another and they had a vampire kid. These are the strongest. These are the ones that has the greatest vampire strain powers inside of them. And then you have the ones who are bitten, which makes you slightly weaker. And then you are bitten by those who are bitten, and so forth and so forth and so forth. These boomer bitches are the purebloods. They are the purebloods. They have the purest strain of feminism there is. You see, she's not concerned with being a mother. She's concerned with appearing like she's a mother. But most importantly, her primary concern is to spread feminism. That is her primary objective, to spread feminism to as many young girls as possible. So she's in Africa raising other people's daughters as opposed to being in California raising her own. Now she's doing this because, one, it's not a matter of if it's your own blood or if it's your own kid. It's a matter of getting feminism to as many young girls as you can. And here in the States, you can only get to one. And she already got to her, so she's like, okay, mission accomplished. No matter what, she's going to be a feminist. Let me go to Africa and spread this shit.
I came very low down in her priorities after work: political integrity, self-fulfillment, friendships, spiritual life, fame, and travel. My mother would always do what she wanted, for example, taking off to Greece for 2 months in the summer, leaving me with relatives when I was a teenager. Is that independent, or just plain selfish? I was 16 when I found a now famous poem she wrote comparing me to various calamities that struck and impeded the lives of other women writers. Virginia Woolf was mentally ill.
That's right. Your daughter is a calamity. These black boomer bitches do not give a shit about their kid. Your daughter is a calamity, impeding my writing.
Virginia Woolf was mentally ill, and the Brontes died prematurely. My mother had me a delightful distraction, but a calamity nevertheless. I found that a huge shock and very upsetting. According to the strident feminist ideology of the 70s, women were sisters first, and my mother chose to see me as a sister rather than a daughter. From the age of 13, I spent days at a time alone while my mother retreated to her writing studio some 100 miles away. I was left with money to buy my own meals and lived on a diet of fast food.
Now, she lived on a diet of fast food. If y'all want to know why black women are so fat as fuck, it's because of shit like this. It's because of poor raising. They're just left with money and told to buy whatever the fuck they want to buy. If they come out fat as hell, oh well. What do you need a man for? Fish bicycle type deal. So then they give birth to the, Lonnie Loves of the world, and they're confused and, angry. But they're angry at the wrong people. They should be angry at the black boomer bitch who gave you money and told you to go out and scrounge for food. Who told you it's okay to suck dick at 13. They didn't police your pussy. It wasn't your job to police your own. You were a kid. That's why consent laws exist for you. But she saw you as a sister. You've been on my mind. You hear that? That's the same shit she was talking about in Color Purple. All right, hold on. Let me copy and paste some more. Oh, what the hell is wrong with this? All right, give me a second. All right, I'm doing it to the next picture. All right.
A neighbor, not much older than me, was deputized to look after me. I never complained. I saw it as my job to protect my mother and never distract her from her writing. It never crossed my mind to say that I needed some time and attention from her. When I was beaten up at school accused of being a snob because I had lighter skin than my black classmates, I always told...
Now, you hear this shit? You hear this shit? How much do you want? And this is why I am so against the colorist bitches. How much do you want to bet that part of the reason why she was being treated like this was because she was light-skinned? How much do you want to bet that the reason why she went to Africa to parent those dark-skinned kids was because they're dark-skinned? I get the feeling that she hated her dark-skinned daughter. And that she was perfectly comfortable sending her to school to get her ass beat. I strongly suspected. It's suspect, I suspected.
When I was beaten up at school accused of being a snob because I had lighter skin than my black classmates, I always told my mother that everything was fine, that I had won the fight. I didn't want to worry her. But the truth was I was very lonely and, with my mother's knowledge, started having sex at 13. I guess it was a relief for my mother as it meant I was less demanding. And she felt that being sexually active was empowering for me because it meant I was in control of my body. Now I simply cannot understand how she could have been so permissive. I barely want my son to leave the house at a playdate, let alone start sleeping around while barely out of junior school. A good mother is attentive, sets boundaries, and makes the world safe for her child. But my mother did none of those things. Although I was on the pill, something I had arranged at 13, visiting the doctor with my best friend, I fell pregnant at 14. I organized an abortion myself. Now I shudder at the memory. I was only a little girl. I don't remember my mother being shocked or upset. She tried to be supportive, accompanying me with her boyfriend. Although I believed that an abortion was the right decision for me then, the aftermath haunted me for decades. It ate away at my self-confidence and, until I hit Tenzin, I was terrified that I'd never be able to have a baby because of what I had done to the child I had destroyed. For feminists, to say that abortion carries no consequences is simply wrong. As a child, I was terribly confused, because while I was being fed a strong feminist message, I actually yearned for a traditional mother. My father's second wife, Judy, was a loving, maternal homemaker with 5 children she doted on. There was always food in the fridge, and she did all the things my mother didn't, such as attending their school events, taking endless photos, and telling her children at every opportunity how wonderful they were.
All right. So basically, feminism is overriding her motherly instinct. I think that I put enough in, because this is long and I don't even want the reader to read all this. I think I put enough in, or actually, no, it's about to be over. So here, let me just do the last bit right now. My bad. You know how these things have like a bunch of advertising at the bottom, so you just assume that it's going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. It's like, damn, this should take forever, but it's actually not that bad. All right, so let me just put the last one on the reader, or the last little snippet on the reader. All right. Or actually, no, it is. It's just that it scrolled down fast, but that's okay. I'll still put it on because I told you I would. Let's see. God damn. Hey, so for those of you who don't know, StreamYard, whenever StreamYard is up, it slows down everything dramatically. It slows down everything else dramatically. Like, it takes up a lot of memory. A lot. All right.
My mother was the polar opposite. She never came to a single school event. She didn't buy me any clothes. She didn't even help me buy my first bra. A friend was paid to go shopping with me. If I needed help with homework, I asked my boyfriend's mother. Moving between the 2 homes was terrible. At my father's home, I felt much more taken care of. But if I told my mother that I'd had a good time with Judy, she'd look bereft, making me feel I was choosing this white, privileged woman above her. I was made to feel that I had to choose one set of ideals above the other. When I hit my 20s and first felt a longing to be a mother, I was totally confused. I could feel my biological clock ticking, but I felt if I listened to it, I would be betraying my mother and all she had taught me. I tried to push it to the back of my mind, but over the next 10 years the longing became more intense, and when I met Glenn, a teacher, at a seminar 5 years ago, I knew I had found the man I wanted to have a baby with. Gentle, kind and hugely supportive, he is, as I knew he would be, the most wonderful father. Although I knew what my mother felt about babies, I still hoped that when I told her I was pregnant, she would be excited for me.
Huh.
Mom, I'm pregnant. Instead, When I called her one morning in the spring of 2004, while I was at one of her homes hussy sitting, and told her my news and that I'd never been happier, she went very quiet. All she could say was that she was shocked. Then she asked if I could check on her garden. I put the phone down and sobbed. She had deliberately withheld her approval with the intention of hurting me. What loving...
Mom, I'm pregnant. Could you help me with the garden? Yep. Yep. Black boomer bitches.
What loving mother would do that? Worse was to follow. My mother took umbrage at an interview in which I'd mentioned that my parents didn't protect or look out for me. She sent me an email, threatening to undermine my reputation as a writer. I couldn't believe she could be so hurtful, particularly when I was pregnant. Devastated, I asked her to apologize and acknowledge how much she'd hurt me over the years with neglect, withholding affection, and resenting me for things I had no control over. The fact that I am mixed race, that I have a wealthy, white, professional...
Resenting me over the fact of something I have no control over, that I am mixed race. When y'all wonder, especially you dark-skinned women out there, y'all be like, is GameChanger colorist? Why is he making these songs? What? Because if you are on this colorism shit, fuck you to death. Okay? Fuck you to death. This woman hates her daughter for being light-skinned. And she made sure her daughter was light-skinned. She got herself a Jewish white guy to marry. You see how sick this shit is? If you are one of these colorism bitches, fuck you to death. Okay? So if you wonder why I hate you so bad, this is why. Having an intimate understanding of this being your thinking is so ludicrous. Fuck you to death. Oh, and talking to my mama is not going to change that shit.
Withholding affection and resenting me for things I had no control over. The fact that I am mixed race, that I have a wealthy, white, professional father, and that I was born at all. But she wouldn't back down. Instead, she wrote me a letter saying that our relationship had been inconsequential for years and that she was no longer interested in being my mother. She even signed the letter with her first name, rather than Mom. That was a month before Tenzin's birth in December 2004, and I have had no contact with my mother since. She didn't even get in touch when he was rushed into the special care baby unit after he was born, suffering breathing difficulties. And I have since heard that my mother has cut me out. Yep.
So your only grandchild has medical problems at birth, and you didn't even show up. Fuck you to death. Fuck you to death. I mean that shit. Fuck you to death.
And I have since heard that my mother has cut me out of her will in favor of one of my cousins. I feel terribly sad. My mother is missing such a great opportunity to be close to her family. But I'm also relieved. Unlike most mothers, mine has never taken any pride in my achievements. She has always had a strange competitiveness that led her to undermine me at almost every turn. When I got into Yale, a huge achievement, she asked why on earth I wanted to be educated at such a male bastion. Whenever I published anything...
Okay. Fellas, stay the fuck away from Spelman bitches. See, when I was a teenager, right, I used to joke when people say what college I wanted to go to. I'd say Spelman because they got all the bitches. There's a reason that a young lady would choose to go to a university that's full of only other black women. And for the most part, it's a bastion of feminism. It's a breeding ground. It's an academy of black feminism. That's where Alice Walker went, by the way. Your daughter gets into Yale. She fulfills her strong, independent prophecy that you set for her. And you wouldn't give her any credit. Why? Because not because you really feel that it was a male bastion and blah 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 blah. You're just shifting the goalpost. You see that your daughter is desperate for your approval and you make sure that you never give it to her. Ever. Fuck you to death. Fuck you to death. You black boomer colorism bitch you. Fuck you to death. Fuck all spawns of you. To death. Were, if I had the power, I would hire full blooded Native Americans, which I would pay extra to call them Indians, to bury you in the sand and have ants eat you to death. They wouldn't be in modern attire, they would be in the clothes of their ancestors. Tomahawk and bows and arrows and everything. I pay extra for that shit. That is how I want to see you suffer. I want it to be old timey. You are an awful fucking human being for what you're doing to your daughter, or for what you did to your daughter, rather. Just downright fucking awful. Hold on, let me read the comment section. All right.
Whenever I published anything, she wanted to write her version, trying to eclipse mine. When I wrote my memoir, Black, White and Jewish, my mother insisted on publishing her version. She finds it impossible to step out of the limelight, which is extremely ironic in light of her view that all women are sisters and should support one another. It's been almost 4 years since I have had any contact with my mother, but it's for the best, not only for my self-protection, but for my son's well-being. I've done all I can to be a loyal, loving daughter, but I can no longer have this poisonous relationship destroy my life. I know many women are shocked by my views. They expect the daughter of Alice Walker to deliver a very different message. Yes, feminism has undoubtedly given women opportunities. It's helped open the doors for us at schools, universities, and in the workplace. But what about the problems it's caused for my contemporaries?
All right. I think it's like one last little clip. Actually, I'm not gonna play this anymore because I'm sick of hearing her voice, and it's derailing from the topic at hand. But it kind of goes into it. It kind of goes into the topic of the day. But now y'all understand. Y'all have a snippet. Y'all have an understanding of what is going on, of the mentality that has been spread from these generations ago, these black boomer bitches. All right. This is what we're dealing with. This is the type of sickness that is just going through, coursing through Snoop Dogg's mom's brain. It is shit like this. They hate everyone but their own. They will destroy everyone but their own. And when I say everyone, I'm not talking, and when I say their own, I'm not talking about other black women. No, I'm talking about younger black women, light-skinned black women, just another black woman that's not in the sisterhood, happily married black women. They will destroy each and every single one of their own sons, grandsons, etc., etc., etc. They do not care. They are relentless and merciless and mercilessness. You know what I mean. They are destructive. You see, Tommy Sotomayor, he has the shit wrong. He has the shit dead wrong. When he talks about the BTs and every generation, the number goes up. No, it goes down. It deteriorates. It gets better with each generation. You know how like with technology, it improves every generation? No. The further back you go, the worse they get. Meaning modern bitches don't take it this far. Oh, they take it far. Way farther than tolerable and way farther than they should, but they would not take it this far. This shit is deplorable. Now, slave to ... What is the ... Many of you are asking. See, in a free society, one has to choose to be a slave or be coerced into it. How does one choose to be a slave or coerced into it? Well, when there's something in this world that you desire greater than freedom, then that is the thing that you are a slave to. If and only if another has control of your access to it. I'm going to give the most obvious example. If you are a user of a hard drug, then you are a slave to your addiction to that drug. And as such, the person who has access to it is your master. He or she can do with you as they please. They want you to suck a dick, you'll suck a dick. They want you to sell your pussy, you'll sell your pussy. They want you to work a fucking field, you'll work a field. You are a slave to that desire, to that narcotic, and those who have access to it. Now, if you have your own income and you have control of your access to it, therefore, you're not a slave to it. You're only a slave if you don't have control of your access to it. Many black men, particularly those of the B1 ilk, and or the pokey ray ilk are slaves to their sexual desire. If someone is controlling your access to pussy, and they are, then you are a slave to your desire for it. You will say and or do anything just as long as you can have access to it. You are a slave to this particular desire. Now, it's not even a question anymore on if you're a slave to it. It's more of a question as to how much of a slave are you to it? And is your master benevolent? And what is your master attempting to have you do? That is the true question. Hold on right quick. Let me make a quick run. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. My bad. All right. So, but yeah, that is what a slave master does. They control the thing that you hold most dear. And until you gain control of these things yourself, then you are never truly free. When someone says that you are a slave to virtue, meaning that you have a set of virtues or principles, meaning say you're a slave to, you honor your word. Whatever your word is, you honor it. Meaning that if you give your word that you're going to stay with somebody through sickness and health, and you honor that, and that person has you don't have control over that person, then you are that person's slave. Because she can leave you and you can't leave her, because you're honor bound to stay with her till death do you part. That has become your master. She can do as she pleases and you can't do anything about it. How can it be worse than what was just read? Like, is that even possible? Hold on, you got an example here. That pales in comparison. That's the level of bad parenting here. All right, tell me what they're doing with this property. But I don't want to get into that of which generation is the worst bitch. Anyway, where was I? So, a slave. If you are a slave to something that you desire, whether it's you're addicted to narcotics, you have a set of virtues, some people are slaves to religion. Then it's not really a question of whether you're a slave or not. Once again, it's a question of how benevolent is your master and what is the agenda of your master. And for far too long, the agenda of our slave masters has been nefarious. It's been sick. So, one of the common types of slavery that we experience here in the Black community is the slavery as it's associated with what's that called? Mother son. You see, a lot of people, a lot of Black men are slaves to familial connection. Many of us was raised by these stone-faced bitches who denied affection since birth. This created a yearning for it, a need for it, that future generations were able to manipulate and use to their control. And that's what this Snoop thing is about. That's what this whole Snoop Dogg thing is about. Another thing that a lot of Black men are slaves to is the desire to replicate themselves. In fact, when brothers talk about stuff like SYSBM, interracial dating, passport gate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that's one of the first things they hit you with. Your children won't be Black. See, they know that you value this thing and they have control of your access to it. They're reminding you that you are a slave. Your children won't be Black. Every man has a desire to replicate himself. Your children won't be Black. If you desire this thing more than your freedom, then you will find yourself at the mercy of someone who does not have your best interests at heart. Sense of community. Both to be a part of a community and to be a functioning, developing member of said community. Many men are slaves to that. Many men seek this connection with the community that they were born into. Women will see this. They control your access to it, meaning that they control the thing that you value more than freedom. And will use this to make you their slave. A sense of validation. Pretty much everything that is in the hierarchy of needs. Until you teach yourself to master control of these things, you are a slave of said things. And that is the type of control that Snoop felt over himself. That's the kind of control that we are under at present. Oh shit. Hey, I'm gonna have to cut this one short, but Y'all, hey, this game changer, hit the like button. This game changer 00100. I'm out. Peace.